I never thought I'd fall in love over vinyl records, but here we are. It started on a Tuesday afternoon in October when I walked into Revolver Records for the first time. I'd just moved to the city for a graphic design job, didn't know anyone, and my apartment felt oppressively empty. I'd always collected records, and there was something about the ritual of it that made new places feel like home. Put on an album, make coffee, pretend you're not completely alone in a city of 3 million people. The store was exactly what I hoped it would be. Cramped and cluttered, smelling like old paper and incense, with crates of records organized by some system that probably made sense only to whoever worked there. Faded concert posters covered every inch of wall space. A turntable behind the counter was playing something jazzy and melancholic that I didn't recognize but immediately wanted to own. That's when I saw him. He was at the counter, bent over a record cleaning machine, completely absorbed in what he was doing. He had dark, curly hair that fell into his eyes, and he kept pushing it back with the inside of his wrist to avoid getting cleaning fluid on it. He was wearing a faded talking heads shirt and had these long fingers that moved over the record with such careful attention. I found myself staring longer than I should have. He looked up and caught me watching. I felt my face go hot, but he just smiled, this easy, genuine smile that made his whole face change. "Hey, welcome in. Let me know if you need help finding anything." His voice was warm and a little raspy, like he'd just woken up. "Thanks," I managed. "Just browsing." I lost myself in the crates the way I always do. There's something meditative about flipping through records, reading the spines, occasionally pulling one out to check the condition. I was in the indie rock section when I found a copy of the Smiths' The Queen is Dead in pristine condition. I pulled it out, and as I was examining it, I heard his voice next to me. "That's a great pressing, original UK. The sound quality is incredible." I turned, and he was closer than I expected. Close enough that I could see he had these light brown eyes with little flecks of green. Close enough that I had to actively stop myself from stepping back, not because I wanted distance, but because I suddenly felt too aware of how close he was. "You're a Smiths fan?" I asked. "Massive. Morrissey is problematic as hell these days, but the music still holds up. You can't deny that." He tilted his head, studying me. "You new to the neighborhood? I haven't seen you in here before, and I definitely would have remembered." There was something in the way he said it that made my stomach flip. Or maybe I was imagining it. I was always doing that, reading too much into friendly gestures from guys, hoping for something that wasn't there. "Yeah, just moved here a couple weeks ago, still finding my way around." "Well, you found the most important place." He grinned. "I'm Miles, by the way. I basically live here. Work here, I mean. Though honestly, I'm here so much it's basically the same thing." "Logan," I said, and when we shook hands, his grip was firm and warm, and he held on just a fraction of a second longer than necessary. Or again, maybe I imagined it. I bought the Smiths record and 2 others. Miles rang me up, and we talked about music the whole time. He had opinions, strong ones, but he was funny about it. When I mentioned I liked the National, he clutched his chest dramatically. "Oh, thank God. I was worried you were going to say you only listen to Imagine Dragons or something. I would have had to ban you from the store." I laughed, actually laughed, for the first time since moving here. That's a pretty strict policy. "I run a tight ship," he said, handing me my bag. Then he leaned forward on the counter, and his expression got a little more serious. "Hey, if you want recommendations or anything, I'm here most days, Tuesday through Saturday. I'm good at reading people's taste, figuring out what they might like." "I might take you up on that," I said. I definitely took him up on that. I came back that Friday, then the next Tuesday, then it became a regular thing. Once, sometimes twice a week, I'd stop by Revolver Records. At first, I told myself it was just about building my collection, about having something to do in a new city. But I knew that wasn't entirely true. I knew I was going there to see Miles. He always seemed genuinely happy when I walked in. His face would light up and he'd abandon whatever he was doing to come talk to me. We'd spend an hour sometimes just talking about music, about the city, about nothing important. I learned he was 27, 2 years older than me. He'd grown up here, tried college for a year, dropped out and never regretted it. He played guitar in a band that practiced more than they performed. He had a cat named Bowie who was, according to Miles, a complete asshole but also the love of his life. I learned that he noticed everything. He remembered that I'd mentioned liking Radiohead, that I'd said I was getting into jazz, that I preferred original pressings when possible but wasn't precious about it. He'd pull records for me, show me things he thought I'd like. And the thing was, he was always right. It was like he could see inside my head, understand my taste better than I understood it myself. One Tuesday in November, about a month after I'd first come in, Miles greeted me with barely contained excitement. "Okay, so I did something, and I hope it's not weird." "That's a concerning way to start a sentence," I said, but I was smiling. He ducked behind the counter and came up with a small stack of records. "I've been setting these aside for you. Ones that came in that I thought you'd like. You don't have to buy them or anything. I just wanted you to get first look before they hit the floor." He handed me the stack, and I flipped through them. Sufjan Stevens, Fleet Foxes, a Bon Iver album I'd been looking for, an older Wilco record. He'd curated this perfectly, every single one something I'd love. "Miles, this is..." I looked up at him. He was watching me with this hopeful, slightly nervous expression. "This is really thoughtful. Thank you." "Yeah, well..." He shrugged, but he was smiling. "I like doing it. You have good taste. It's fun to hunt for you." Hunt for you. The phrase stuck in my head for days. There was something about it, something that felt intimate in a way I couldn't quite name. He was thinking about me when I wasn't there, keeping an eye out for things I'd like, taking time out of his day to set records aside for me specifically. I bought all of them. He gave me a discount he definitely wasn't supposed to give me. When I protested, he just waved me off. Employee privilege. Don't worry about it. Walking home that day, I had to be honest with myself. This wasn't just about the music anymore. Maybe it never had been. I was developing feelings for Miles. Real, substantial feelings. The kind that made me check my reflection before heading to the record store. The kind that made my heart speed up when I pushed open the door and saw him there. The kind that were probably going to get me hurt, because guys like Miles, charming and straight and friendly, they were never interested in guys like me. But then things kept happening that made me question that assumption. Like the time in December when the store was dead, and Miles asked if I wanted to hear something in the listening booth. It was a tiny space, barely big enough for 2 people, and we were pressed close together as he put on a record by some obscure 60s folk artist. His arm brushed against mine and he didn't move it away. We stood there in that small space, listening to this haunting, beautiful music, and I was so aware of every point where our bodies were almost touching. When the song ended, we just stood there for a moment in silence, and when I looked over at him, he was already looking at me with this expression I couldn't read. "Beautiful, right?" he said softly. "Yeah," I managed. "Beautiful." Or the time he texted me. He'd gotten my number to let me know when specific records came in, but one night around 10, my phone buzzed with a message from him. "Can't sleep. Been listening to this. Thought of you." And there was a link to a song. I listened to it in the dark, in my bed, and it was perfect. Exactly something I'd love. And I thought about the fact that he'd been lying in his own bed, unable to sleep, and he'd thought of me. I texted back, "This is gorgeous. Thank you." Then, feeling brave in the darkness, I added, "Why can't you sleep?" Just thinking too much, I guess. Brain won't shut off. "I get that. Want to talk about it?" There was a long pause. Then, "Not really sure how to talk about it yet. But thanks for asking." We texted until almost 1 in the morning about nothing important, just back and forth, easy and comfortable. When I finally fell asleep, I was smiling at my phone like an idiot. I started noticing other things too. The way he'd find excuses to touch me, a hand on my shoulder when he was showing me something, fingers brushing against mine when he handed me records, the way he'd lean in close when we talked, closer than necessary. The way he looked at me sometimes with this intensity that made me feel transparent. But I still wasn't sure. And I was terrified of being wrong, of misreading everything and ruining the best friendship I'd made in this city. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday in late January, one of those brutally cold nights where the wind cuts right through you. I'd stopped by the store after work, and Miles was just closing up. He looked tired, and when I asked if he was okay, he sighed. Long week. My roommate is moving out, and I'm stressed about making rent on my own. Plus, the store's owner is talking about selling, so I might be looking for a new job soon. And my band is falling apart because our drummer is moving to Portland. He laughed, but it sounded strained. Sorry, didn't mean to dump all that on you. No, I'm glad you told me. That's a lot to deal with. He locked the front door and turned to me. You want to grab a drink or something? I could use one. We went to a dive bar 2 blocks away. It was warm and dim, and we found a booth in the back. A couple of drinks in, Miles was more relaxed, laughing easier. We talked about everything, his childhood, my family, our dreams, our fears. The conversation went deeper than it ever had before. At some point he said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure," I said, though my heart was suddenly pounding. "Are you seeing anyone?" The question caught me off guard. "No, are you?" He shook his head. "No, haven't been interested in anyone in a while." He was quiet for a moment, running his finger around the rim of his glass. "Actually, that's not true. I've been interested in someone. Just haven't known what to do about it." Everything in me went still. "Yeah?" He looked up at me, and there was something vulnerable in his eyes. "Logan, I need to tell you something, and it might be weird, and if it is, we can just forget I said anything and go back to normal. But I think I'll lose my mind if I don't say it." "Okay," I whispered. "I look forward to you coming into the store." Like, embarrassingly so. I watch the door on Tuesdays and Fridays, because those are your days. I set records aside for you because I love the way your face lights up when you find something you love. I think about you when you're not there. I text you in the middle of the night because I want to talk to you, and I'm pretty sure that's not normal friend behavior. I couldn't breathe. "Miles, I like you," he said, and his voice was shaking slightly. "Like, really like you. And I've been terrified to say anything because I didn't know if you'd feel the same way or if you even liked guys, or if I was completely misreading everything." "You're not misreading anything," I said, and my voice came out rough. "I've been coming to that record store twice a week for 3 months, and I think I've been half in love with you since the first day." His eyes widened. "Really? Really? I thought I was imagining that you might feel the same way. I've been driving myself crazy trying to figure out if you were flirting or just being friendly." He laughed, and it sounded like relief. "I've been flirting so hard, I thought I was being obvious. I'm apparently oblivious." "We're both idiots," he said, and then he was reaching across the table, taking my hand. His thumb brushed across my knuckles, and it was such a simple gesture, but it felt monumental. "Can I kiss you?" "Please," I said. He leaned across the table, and I met him halfway, and when our lips touched, it felt like everything clicked into place. The kiss was soft and tentative at first, then deeper. When we pulled back, he was smiling, this beautiful, genuine smile that made my chest ache. "I've wanted to do that for so long," he said. "Me too." We left the bar hand in hand, and he walked me back to my apartment, even though it was out of his way. At my door, he kissed me again. slower this time, his hand cupping the side of my face. When we finally separated, I didn't want him to leave. "Come up?" I asked. I thought you'd never ask. We spent that night on my couch, talking and kissing, listening to records. He told me about the first time he realized he liked guys in high school and how scared he'd been. I told him about coming out to my family, about the friends I'd lost and the ones who stayed. We shared our histories, our hurts, our hopes. As the night turned into early morning, I felt something I hadn't felt since moving to the city. I felt home. That was 6 months ago. Now Miles is asleep in my bed, Bowie the cat curled up on his chest. I'm at my desk, supposed to be working on a design project, but instead I'm watching him sleep and thinking about how strange life is, how you can feel so alone. And then someone walks into your world, or you walk into theirs, and everything changes. He still sets records aside for me, even though he sees my collection daily now. Last week he came home with a rare pressing of my favorite album, something he'd been hunting for months. When I asked how much it cost, he just kissed me and said some things are priceless. I never thought I'd fall in love over vinyl records, but I fell in love with a guy who paid attention, who noticed what I liked, who took the time to know me. I fell in love with someone who saw me, really saw me, and decided I was worth the effort. I fell in love in a cramped record store that smells like incense and old paper, and I'd do it again 1,000 times. Miles stirs, opens his eyes, and smiles when he sees me watching him. "Hey you, come back to bed." I should work. Work can wait. I can't. I save my file and cross the room. As I climb into bed next to him, Bowie meowing in protest at being disturbed, Miles pulls me close. His arms wrap around me, and I breathe in the familiar scent of him. "I love you," he murmurs against my hair. "I love you too." Outside, the city moves on, 3 million people going about their lives. But here, in this moment, in this bed, with this man who set aside records for me because he thought I'd like them, I have everything I need. Total_char_count, 16,847.